Okay, only 10 more presents to wrap. You're almost at the finish line. But first... There, the last one. Enjoy a Coca-Cola for a pause that refreshes.
Let's talk about the highs and the lows of my cruise on the Treasure. That's coming up on this episode 492 of WW Prep to Go. Hello and welcome to WW Prep to Go, where we talk strategy and ideas and have lots and lots of trip reports. I'm your host, Shannon Albert from WDWPrepSchool.com, and I'm here today to recap my cruise last week on the Treasure. As you can tell, first of all, I brought home a souvenir cold. I feel like I lucked out, though, because lots of other people brought home other things that I would rather not have. Before we get into that, as always, a reminder to follow me on social media, always posting lots of information. And if you happen to be on Instagram, particularly if you're a patron who's on Close Friends, you caught lots of things in the last week that were posted there and nowhere else. So feel free to join us on social media. I am going to be making lots of YouTube videos related to this cruise as well. Having a job where you have to be recorded all the time for like podcast reasons and social media and YouTube makes it tough when you have a cold or start to lose your voice, but we're going to push through because I haven't missed a podcast episode in years. So not about to start now. Okay. So went on the Treasure last week. This was booked as soon as the bookings opened for these dates a long time ago because I was very much looking forward to it. Obviously, having a theme park themed ship is appealing to those of us who like the theme parks. And I'd been on the Wish before, and so I kind of knew how the ship layout worked. This is my 10th cruise. I've been on all the ships now except for the Destiny. So I'm somewhat familiar. I'm very familiar with Disney cruising, and I'm somewhat familiar with this class of ships. So if you're not familiar, Disney has 3 different classes. The newest class is people call it the Wish class. So it's the Wish and the Treasure and now the Destiny. And then the level that is, I don't want to say lower than that because I don't think it's lower. It's just that's a little bit older is the Fantasy and the Dream. Those ships are about the same size as the Wish class, but they're just a different layout and different vibe to them. And then the very first class of ships were the Magic and the Wonder. So they're the smallest and the oldest, but they do tend to have some different itineraries. I think the smaller ships can kind of get into places that the big ships can't. So there's basically 3 classes of ships. And I had been on the Wish, so I'm familiar with this class at least a little bit. The itinerary that I went on is the Eastern Caribbean itinerary. This ship goes to, a couple different itineraries. And I was excited about it because half the days are at sea and then the other half are the Tortola and St. Thomas, which are both Virgin Islands, and then Castaway Cay. And I thought, okay, this is going to be great because these are 2 places I've never been before, plus Castaway Cay, which is my favorite of the Disney islands. And then half the days at sea. Great. And so I'm going into it thinking, I'm going to tell people on the podcast next week, this is my favorite itinerary ever, the best ship ever, but whatever. In the end, that's not exactly what happened. I expected to love everything, ended up being a big mix. So for this podcast, I want to go over what I thought was good, what I thought was just okay, and what I thought was bad. And this is completely my own opinions. Other people have very different opinions, so take it for what it's worth, but this is my experience. So let's talk about the good stuff first. Starting off strong with Disney transportation to and from the airport Hyatt, the MCO Hyatt. All right, so, and this would be true of any cruise that's going out of Port Canaveral. This would be good. So in the past, I have been a private car service person. we partner with a private car service for people that want it because they offer good service and like for Disney World, a free grocery stop. I took the car service to Port Canaveral a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, something like that. But I've always taken private car service. And when I went to book it for this cruise, it was going to be over $500. And I said, no, for $500, I am not doing that. So what I am going to do is try the DCL transportation from the MCO Hyatt. I was already booked at the Hyatt because our flight arrived like at 10 p.m. the night before the cruise. As you all know by now, I like staying at the MCO Hyatt when I have a late flight. And so it made sense to just book DCL transportation. It was $90 round trip per person. We had 2 people, so at $180, that is still way under the private car transportation cost. And it ended up being way better than I thought, not just cost-wise. So at the Hyatt, they have a whole section set up next to the lobby just for people who are taking DCL transportation, which is a lot. And basically, they have it set up kind of like at the cruise terminal, where you can show them your passport and connect your Magic Band to your room and these kind of things that you do typically at the cruise terminal. They let you do this at the airport. Now, this is not true if you're staying at a Disney World hotel and you book DCL transportation. They don't do that there, but they do this at the Hyatt, probably because there's just a lot of people there. So it's a win-win for everybody. So that was a really pleasant surprise, was that we can just do a lot of our stuff right there at the hotel. They also allowed us to take our bags, put our DCL luggage tags on the handle and leave it in our hotel room. So once we packed up our hotel room the morning of the cruise and tagged them and left it in the room, we didn't have to deal with our bags again until we got to our stateroom and they were delivered. That was also great. Another thing, and this is true for anybody who uses DCL transportation, is that you usually end up getting an earlier boarding group. So even though I was gold checking in for this cruise, I'm now platinum, so I'll have a few extra perks now, but I was gold checking in for this cruise. I got a noon port arrival time, but once I booked DCL transportation, it changed to 10:45. So, between the ease at the hotel, plus the earlier boarding time, plus the luggage help, it was just a really great way to start a cruise. And I really, really liked it. And I know a lot of families love it as well. You don't have to deal with like the car seats and different things. And on the way to the port, they show a Disney specific programming on the screens on the bus. So you really get the Disney experience right off the bat. So I really, really love this. And if I do cruises out of Port Canaveral, I think I will always do DCL transportation from the Hyatt from now on because it just works so well. I want to emphasize that I am talking specifically about going to Port Canaveral. I feel like the DCL transport works better here than it does at other ports because Disney seems to have more control. So this endorsement of it is specific to this port and not necessarily all the other ports. Okay, we're still in the good category. Let's move on to the ship itself. So the ship itself, the Treasure, is so beautiful, and this would be true of all the Wish class ships. This was my impression of the Wish when I boarded it, and I assume it is true on the Destiny. But the Treasure, it is so beautiful. Like everything is just new and so well done. And if you've been on older ships, then I think it's like, wow, this really is fresh, and you can tell the difference. All the ships are beautiful, to be fair, but you can just tell that it's really new. I also really love the theming, obviously. The Wish class ships all have a different theme. So the Wish theme is wishing. It's enchantment and wishing, I think is what they say. And then the Destiny is heroes versus villains. And then the Treasure is based a lot on the theme park. So clearly I'm going to be into this theme, and they do it very, very well. So really like that about the ship. Our room location, I really liked. We were room 7584. It was exactly in the middle of the ship, and the middle of the ship has a lot of benefits. So there's 2 banks of elevators, and we could go to either one very easily, as well as stairs, because there's stairs right next to the elevators. And so I just felt like we could actually easily get to a lot of things without even using elevators in many cases. And because it was in the middle of the ship, we didn't have as much motion that we could feel in the room on more rocky, choppy days. And so that was really really good. So I love that. I also always book starboard side on cruises that go to Castaway Cay, because not only do you get great views of Castaway Cay, but the fireworks go off on that side of the ship. And they tell you not to go on the veranda to watch them, but we just literally sat right inside and got to see them from there. If you don't want to go to the deck to watch them, you could just do it from your room. So starboard side, right in the middle between the elevators, and the seventh floor allowed us to kind of go up and down quite easily just using the stairs. So I loved our room location. Another good thing was the entertainment. Now, I'm gonna throw out a guess that the Wish class ships have the best entertainment. I think it's probably their biggest strength. It is incredible. The stage productions, there were 3 of them during our cruise. Every ship has a show that is like cruise specific, but interweaves a medley of different Disney shows within a cruise specific show. I don't know. I don't think this makes any sense. It's called Disney Sees the Adventure. That's what it's called. But basically it has the characters as crew members, like they're driving the ship, but then they show different Disney movies throughout. So that's like the cruise specific show that I think is on all of the Wish class ships. And then they have Moana and Beauty and the Beast. So really, really great stage shows in that way, but that's not the only entertainment that was great. They also had Broadway performers, and it is a specific series called the Broadway Stars series. It is not on all cruises, but it looks like all the ships sometimes have this. And so I found a link that I'm going to include in the description so that you can tell if you're going on a cruise if they're going to include the Broadway Stars series, because they do have it sometimes. It's just that you can't count on it being there all the time. But it did occur to me during this cruise that it makes complete sense why they would do this, because I just feel like the Venn diagram of Disney cruise lovers and Broadway lovers has a huge overlap, because so many of us, we like the Disney cruises because of the performances. So of course, we also like Broadway. Like, that makes sense. And we had a couple of performers on our ship that were absolutely incredible. And they performed not only on the main stage in the Walt Disney Theater, but also in the adults only space, where in the adults only space, they did more like mix of Broadway tunes. And then on the main stage, they did Disney ones. And they were incredible. We actually saw one of the performers walking around our last night and thanked her because she was one of our favorite parts of the cruise. And I love this. So check the link in the description if you are interested. I'm really happy that they are doing that. Also, just the random entertainment that is available throughout the ship, and I did find this on the Wish as well, is amazing. Like, you just go into any space and you're like, wait, this band is fantastic, or these performers are amazing. We spent a lot of time with the Doublooners, who are a band that perform in the Skipper Society, which is a Jungle Cruise themed space, and they were really, really great. And I told them on our last night, you were a highlight of this cruise. And it was just fun to be able to sit there after dinner and listen to live music. And they did kind of different themes. I don't know what the name of the theme was on our last night, but it was all music from the 80s. I don't know if they called it like rock music or something, but it was basically like 80s music. But other nights they had other themes. I remember one night that where all the songs seemed to be from the 90s. So maybe they do different decades. But anyway, they're really, really great. But there's just stuff everywhere. So the entertainment in general, a big highlight. Another big highlight was the Haunted Mansion parlor. So this is obviously something that I was looking very forward to. And I don't like the lounge space on the Wish. It's Star Wars themed. It just wasn't a good experience. I'm not a Star Wars person, as so many people know, but I can appreciate the entertainment of it. I love Galaxy's Edge, etc. But they just, like, on our cruise, they didn't serve us for a very long time, and it just felt disappointing. But the Haunted Mansion parlor is not disappointing at all. And we had so much fun. So we visited it a couple of times. We also did a whole photo shoot there. It's $400 to book the photo shoot, and I booked it for a couple of reasons, but one of them is because it's my job and I can tell you if I think it's worth it. I'll talk about more about that in a second. But the Haunted Mansion parlor itself is really great. So I know that it's popular. And so I thought, well, on our first day, maybe we'll just rope drop it. It opens at noon. And so we kind of got in line just before that. And we were in the first 8 people, I think, that went in. And if you do want to rope drop it, this is the way to do it, just before noon. But You don't have to. And especially in the evening, we found it to be dead because so many people are in the dining rooms and at shows and things. And so it's very easy. They allow children until 9 p.m. And then from 9 p.m. until midnight or 12:30, it's adults only. So you kind of got a mix there. But like the entertainment there is great. The decor was fantastic. The servers were great. So just overall, a really good experience there. And that one did not disappoint. Now, the photo shoot, I booked it when I was booking activities for this cruise because it was new. And it's $400 for 20 minutes. So obviously not cheap. It was very, very fun. Our photographer was one of our favorite crew members that we met during this cruise. And we had a lot of fun. I wish I had dressed differently. I literally didn't know what it was going to be like. And now that I know, I would have dressed differently. I ended up wearing something that said Haunted Mansion on it. And I think what would have been better was to wear something where you kind of blend in with the theme, like a black dress, maybe some heels. I don't know. I just feel like it would have worked better. The $400 includes 5 digital downloads. But if you want all the photos, you can pay $150 and they will give them all to you on a USB. And that's what I ended up doing was the USB. So $550 for Haunted Mansion photos. I don't know if I recommend it for most people, but it was a very fun experience and we have lots of photos. I think we're going to take a gallery wall at our house and like maybe during the Halloween decorating season, replace them with some of our photos from the Haunted Mansion parlor photo shoot. So it was very, very fun. I just wish it wasn't so expensive. I think it's also only available on port days, so it's not even available that often and kind of limited. So I literally had to book an excursion at noon in order to do the photo shoot in the morning at 8 a.m. There is another photo shoot you can book at Castaway Cay, FYI, so that's totally separate. And we saw some of the photos that people took of those that looked great. But overall, Haunted Mansion parlor, great. Photo shoot, pretty expensive. If you want to just take your own photos with your camera, you can do that too. Skipper Society was another highlight of ours. I kind of mentioned that because I said the live music from the doublooners was great and it's Jungle Cruise themed. And I just really liked it there. Great hangout space, which it happens to be right in front of the Haunted Mansion parlor. Another good thing for us was the quick service food on the pool deck. So all the Disney ships have quick service food that is near the pool on like one of the top decks. On this ship, it's called the Festival of Foods, and they have barbecue, pizza, burgers, ice cream, and it was just good. All of the ships work a little bit differently. Like on some of the ships, they're more spread out on the pool deck, but in this one, they're all in a row. It kind of reminds me of a food court where you just sort of show up and everybody goes to whichever window they want, and then you can sit together. But it was good, and most places have plant-based options. So even the burger place and this Festival of Foods area had an Impossible Burger with Daiya brand of plant-based cheese. Everywhere seemed to have plant-based options. And so we just really liked that when we wanted to grab something quick. And then finally, the internet service worked extremely well. The paid internet service is what I'm talking about. Is similar to the Haunted Mansion parlor photo shoot, is very expensive. And so most people don't get it. I'm going to do a whole YouTube video about Disney Cruise Internet because I want to explain sort of some tips and ways that you can save money. I post throughout for work. And so I always buy it, the unlimited highest speed one, but it did work. I literally streamed YouTube videos and like Netflix shows and everything from the middle of the ocean, and I never had any issues with it. It worked really, really well. So if you do end up paying for it, at least you know it works, but you don't have to pay for it. You can do like free texting and stuff and WhatsApp messaging if you don't want to pay for it.
The clock's running out on December deal drops at Lowe's, but there's still time to wrap up something they'll love. Shop great gifts under $50, like the DeWalt Elite Series 100-piece bit set. Plus, if you order by 2 p.m., you get same-day delivery by 8 p.m. Shop December deal drops while you can. Lowe's, we help, you save.
'Tis the season for identity theft. This time of year, most of us are checking off our holiday gift lists. But guess what? Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on them. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second and alerts you to threats you could miss by yourself, even if you keep an eye on your bank and credit card statements. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. And all plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. The last thing you want to do this holiday season is face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft all alone. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Call 1-800-LifeLock and use promo code IHEART. Or go to lifelock.com/iHeart for 40% off. Terms apply.
This is Rob Gronkowski from Dudes on Dudes with Gronk and Jules. Sunday mornings are sacred. I've got my game day routine, coffee, jersey laid out, and my lucky playlist. But the real game changer? New morning Uncrustables sandwiches.
I've always loved Uncrustable sandwiches, and now I'm all about the new flavors with 12 grams of protein. Bright-eyed berry or up an apple. Bright-eyed berry's got that flashy, finessey vibe, like your favorite slot receiver.
Up an apple, tough and reliable, like a do-it-all tight end.
And players love them. Did you know teams crush over 80,000 Uncrustable sandwiches a year? They know it's good.
It's a snack that can go with you anywhere, from the couch to the tailgate or even in the locker room. Soft bread, yummy fillings, protein packed. Once it's part of your ritual, you don't skip it.
Easy enough for Gronk to grab straight from the freezer.
Your new Sunday kickoff ritual starts here with the new morning Uncrustables sandwiches, packed with 12 grams of protein.
All right, now let's move from the good stuff to just the things that were okay. Okay. I need to stop saying okay. This category is called okay. All right, so the first thing is rotational dining. So a lot of you are familiar that on Disney Cruise, they have like 3 dining rooms and you rotate between them throughout your cruise, and your servers move with you. So they kind of get to know you and they go to all the different dining rooms. The food was fine, but it wasn't great. I have had cruises where I really like the food and would even think, oh, I wish I could get that another night. The servers that we had were either inexperienced or they have too much going on because we did not see them a whole lot, including the one that was in charge of our drinks, like just getting water refills and stuff. Or I ordered like a bottle of wine and he would pour our wine and then take the bottle away. And then I'd have to go track him down or go track down our bottle of wine in order to refill our glasses. And it just felt like they weren't super attentive. And this is going to vary wildly because a lot of people are going to say that the servers were the best part of the ship. It just can really vary. And in our case, the servers were just, by the end, I felt like they got us. They were like, okay, we know you're going to want your wine close by so you can refill your own cups. We know you're going to want us to tell you our favorite things from the menu so that you can make better choices. And I was like, yeah, this is all very helpful. But it just took a while to get there. Another part of rotational dining is that the Coco dining room seating is very uncomfortable. So all of the Wish class ships have this very, very themed dining space with entertainment, but the seating can be very cramped. On this ship, it is Coco themed. On the Wish, it's Arendelle. And I think on the Destiny, it's Lion King. But it's basically one gigantic room with a whole bunch of tables that many of them are 5 inches apart. And we were kind of in the middle of a bunch of tables. So we had a table 5 inches to the left, 5 inches to the right, and right behind us and right on the other side. Like we were kind of enclosed. There's hardly any room for the servers to move. And it makes it very claustrophobic and loud. So that's difficult. But the Coco themed dining room is beautiful. I think it actually just won an award for best themed dining on a cruise ship or something along those lines. And there's live entertainment. So that part of it is really great. But being put in the middle of so many people and not being able to move, it was tricky. We were actually assigned the Coco dining room 3 times, our first night, our last night, and then one in the middle. And we skipped it in the middle because I didn't want to do it. It was too cramped. So it's unfortunate because I love the movie Coco. Not only do I love the movie Coco, I live in Mexico. I have a whole thing. I love all this stuff. So just the seating itself was difficult. That's the biggest complaint. The other thing I want to mention in this sort of okay category is the itinerary. So I told you at the beginning that I went into this cruise thinking I'm going to love everything about it, including the itinerary, because I love that it was 50% days at sea and then 2 ports I've never been to in the Virgin Islands and then Castaway Cay, which I already know I love. However, something I didn't expect is how that would feel on board. So the first 3 days were great. So it was 2 days at sea, and then we went to Tortola in the Virgin Islands. So the days at sea were nice because it was relaxing in a way to kind of get to know the ship without having to worry about getting off the boat. Tortola was great because it was a nice long port day. And so that gave us a chance to get off the ship and go do some other stuff. Now, this is where it starts to go sideways for me. So St. Thomas is the next day after Tortola, but it's very short, like 5 hours or something. So not very long at all. And then you get on the ship, and the ship basically, it feels like it is the pedal pushed down, fully accelerated to get to Castaway Cay. So from the afternoon on the St. Thomas Day until the Castaway Cay Day, the ship feels like it's going very fast. And there is a day at sea in the middle of those. And so I guess they have to go really fast to make it all the way from St. Thomas up to Castaway Cay. And so we basically have a short port day at St. Thomas, and then the ship starts going very fast to get to Castaway Cay. And on this day at sea, a lot of us were very nauseous because the ship is moving so fast and so much. And I was really thankful for having our stateroom right in the middle of the ship, because in the room, I didn't notice it so much. But as soon as I left to go to one of the dining rooms or the theater or whatever is on the ends, I felt it a lot. And there were people very nauseous during this time. So I didn't quite expect that. I didn't know how fast they were going to have to move to get to Castaway Cay. And then Castaway Cay, the day itself was fine, but because it's the last day of the cruise, there was a lot going on. So we want to enjoy Castaway Cay, and then on the ship, there's a show. Beauty and the Beast is playing. There's only 3 main stage shows during the cruise, and they put one of them on the last day, which includes Castaway Cay. And between Castaway Cay plus the show, plus all of your last day activities, like you might have to go to guest services to settle things on your account. You might want to go and buy your photos. You have to pack. All this stuff is happening on the last day, and it felt frantic. Like there's too much good stuff happening all at once, and we have a whole week. So why could we not spread this out a little bit? Like at least put the Beauty and the Beast show on a different day so we have a little less competition. So I didn't enjoy the last 3 days that much because of all the things that I just listed out, and I hadn't seen that coming beforehand, but that was my experience. Now let's talk about the bad. First bad thing I want to mention is the adults only pool area. This is going to be true of all of the Wish class ships because they all have the same layout. The adults only pool area is very small. It is such a big ship and it's such a small space that there's almost nowhere to sit, and there's just these tiny little pools that you can get in. On the other ships, including the tiniest ones, the Magic and Wonder, the adults only pool area is really nice. So they have really made a decision to reduce this on these brand new big ships. And it's disappointing for those of us that are adults only. So I don't like that part of it. It is also, there's a part of the adults only pool area that is located right next to the Aquamouse, and it's really loud, and they have sounds that are playing over the speakers constantly. And so it's absolutely loud, and there's no peace on that side. So we just didn't spend hardly any time there at all. Another thing is the adults only entertainment space. Now this would also be true of all the Wish class ships. Okay. So the adults only entertainment space is on the other ships. It's kind of like, I always call it a portal. It feels like you're walking into a portal, and once you get through that hallway or whatever, you're in a whole big area that is just for adults. So it's like shows that are adults only. It is a pub. It is a piano lounge, all this kind of stuff. And once you're in there, kids aren't allowed. during, certain hours. And so you can have drinks without worrying about the kids. You can use language you wouldn't normally use around kids. And it's really big space. And it kind of it feels like a community area to gather with your friends. Like, oh, let's meet in the pub and we'll play trivia or we'll have a drink or whatever. And doesn't work that way on the Wish class ships. Their adult only entertainment space is like 2-story area, but it's not closed off. So right above the space is a hallway that anybody can walk through because you have to get to the elevators, and that includes kids. The pub space, although it's beautiful, Periscope Pub, beautiful space, it's not a gathering area. It's smaller than it is on the other ships. And then there's this lounge called Triton Lounge, which is just a room with chairs that you can go in and do things like crafts. But it's all these like smaller separate spaces. It's not one big space, and kids can kind of come through, and it doesn't feel very segregated or private in a way. And so for adults only, I don't like the pool or the entertainment spaces. And then wrapping up are a few things that became ongoing themes as I posted to Instagram. One of them is the ability to eat real scrambled eggs. Now, because this is my 10th Disney cruise, I am familiar with the ability to get eggs on Disney cruises. I do it every time. And this time it just was not possible because the scrambled eggs, I'm going to put it in quotes, that they serve are like they're from powder. And when I posted a picture of it on Instagram, I got so many DMs that said, why does it look like cottage cheese? That's literally what it looks like. And I like scrambled eggs, and so, or real eggs at least. And so at the Marceline Market, which is the buffet space, when I found I couldn't get real eggs at the scrambled egg bar, I thought, well, I'm going to have to order omelets or something like that in order to get my real eggs. And that was available in a very small space of Marceline Market. They had an 8.5 by 11 paper that said omelets made to order. And then when we did order, it took 30 minutes for it to come out. And then there's a sit-down place you can go for breakfast every day. And when I went there and ordered an omelet, delicious. And another day I ordered scrambled eggs, and it was the same eggs served at Marceline Market, the ones that were made from powder. And so the ability to get like real scrambled eggs was non-existent. I had to either order an omelet, or you could have ordered eggs that are like fried or over hard or whatever you call it. But it's just something about the scrambled eggs. They're just not real eggs. And that was really a gross lesson to learn because I tried a couple of times to get them and they were not delicious. The omelets were good. And a couple experiences that I had that I think were specific to me, but one of them is specific to me. But you may or may not experience these yourself. Okay, so we were put on the wrong excursion on our St. Thomas Day. We went to meet in the place where they told us to go for our excursion, and we were given a sticker, as they do when you arrive for your excursions. They give you a sticker that is a certain character, it's a certain color, and that is to tell you which group you're with. And then when you see a cast member with that paddle, with the paddle that matches your sticker, you follow them off the boat and they take you to your excursion. Easy enough. Done this a million times. But once we checked in for our excursion, which is supposed to be a boat that included swimming and snorkeling, I felt like some things were really off. If you can hear drilling in the background, I apologize. There's some construction happening outside of my house. But once the excursions, like the paddle kind of came out and we followed them, I thought something's off because I think the timing, we were early, but I felt like they were taking us way before our excursion time. And so I clarified with a Disney cast member. I said, is this the Treasure Island Snorkel and Swim? And they said, yes. And I was like, okay. So then we got off the boat and we went to the third-party excursion company. I said to that worker, is this the Treasure Island Snorkel and Swim? And they said, yes. And I felt like I was being annoying, but I felt like something was off. So they walk us to this open-air taxi to take us on our excursion. And I said to the family next to us on this, where are we going? And she said, a beach. Okay. That is not what we booked, but we're going to roll with it because frankly, we were up for a beach day. But it was just weird because what if you had signed up for a beach day and suddenly you're on a boat and they're handing you snorkel gear? not everybody's up for that, right? So I went to the guest services desk when we got back on the ship just to tell them. I said, I don't want anything. I just want to let you know this happened. And they were shocked. And I said, I know it is. It's weird. And it could have been very bad if it had been a thing that we didn't want to do, or a family that, wasn't interested in doing the other excursion or whatever. And so they were shocked. And so that was just weird. I didn't enjoy that. I felt like a lot of weird hiccups like that happened. And the last bad thing I'm going to mention was related to the spa. Now, if you're on Instagram, you already know what I'm going to say right now, because I had a reel go viral. At the time I'm recording this, it has over 600,000 views on Instagram. And the reel basically said, we got massages, and I always, on the intake form, I never say that I'm worried about anything because I don't want them to upsell me. If you say you're worried about weight or skin or anything, they are going to try to sell you products related to that. So I never say that. But my massage therapist said, you probably need to figure out how to get your stress as low as possible. And I was like, that's probably true. When I get home, I'll take some long showers or something. I don't know. But apparently she thought that meant that I needed some products. So at the end, I'm signing off on the receipt, and there was the receipt for the massage. And then there was an extra receipt for $150 of products that I did not ask for. And she just wanted to sneak it in. I never consented to the products. I never said I wanted products, and I didn't sign the receipt. And that frustrated me because I've been on multiple cruises, gotten lots of massages, and I feel like I'm constantly having to work around the high pressure sales, and it makes it a lot less relaxing to have a massage when you're worried about the pressure. So I recorded a 1-minute video and put it up the next day. And I just said, I'm done with Disney massages because I'm tired of the upselling, and having a sneaky receipt put into my hands to sign was kind of a deal breaker for me. And so I'm done. And that's what I said basically. And it has a lot of views. So the problem with doing this while you're on a Disney cruise is that Disney doesn't like it. So they came and tracked me down. And they didn't ask me to take it down, but I knew that they would really like it if I didn't talk so much about this stuff. So that's all I'm going to say for now, but I did record on Patreon throughout the cruise and did a special emergency convo on this night to explain the situation. So note to future me, I'll wait till I'm home to talk about these things. But I got lots and lots of DMs about this and lots of comments. I know I'm not alone, and there are far worse stories than my own. So that is that. I don't think I'm going to book any more spa experiences on Disney Cruise. I think this is very common on lots of cruise lines, but I hold Disney to a higher standard. And I hope that maybe they'll make some changes in this department, because the high pressure sales is very intense and ends up with a lot of us walking away with the bad taste in our mouth. And I don't want to do that again. So I think that's kind of the good, the okay, and the bad from this cruise. Some final thoughts. I think the Wish class of ships are more popular amongst first-time cruisers and families with young children. In our cruise WhatsApp and Facebook chats, and I've seen it on Reddit as well, these people are the people that come away the most satisfied. And I'm not trying to be a jerk and, saying, well, because it was my 10th cruise, I could compare it to all the other ones. But I know that it can be better, and it does feel like they are in some ways regressing with the newer ships, and that's kind of frustrating. So first-time cruisers and families seem to like it more. Obviously, based on what I've said, you understand why I don't like it for adults only as much, because of the pool area and the entertainment spaces, just not as conducive. I do also think 5 days is my perfect cruise length. This one was 7. Anything less than 5 or maybe 4 or 5 is good. Anything less than that, like a Wish cruise that's 3 days, that doesn't really give you much time to kind of get settled and get to know the ship. But for me, when you go over 5, I start to feel trapped. And my cold symptoms kind of kicked in on that that day at sea where the ship was going really fast. And I just felt like I have nowhere to go. Like, I don't have enough medicine right now to help me feel better. And this ship is moving very quickly and making everything feel nauseous. And I just felt like I had nowhere to go and I felt trapped. And so 5 days feels like the perfect length for me. I reserve the right to change my opinion in the future, but right now that feels correct. But there are lots of people that when they were leaving the ship said, I hate going home right now. I wish I could stay on the ship. So there's lots of people that wanted to stay. This is just for me. If you want to hear my thoughts that were recorded during the cruise, including the spa story, it is up on Patreon and was recorded from our stateroom. So I think that is going to be it. If you're interested in a Disney cruise, we do have the agency that books the most Disney cruises in the world is who we partner with, and I can link that in the description. They offer onboard credit to people that book with them. It's based on the price of your cruise determines how much your onboard credit is, but it's nice to get on board and have a credit so that you can go and spend it on some fun things without worrying about spending your own money for that amount. So that's really nice. But overall, a mix of experiences. My next cruise will be in April, and that's going to be with patrons. I think we have about 30 of us that are going, and that is on the Wonder going out of California. So totally different ship, totally different itinerary. And as always, I assume it's going to go really well. I always do. But that's my thoughts on the Treasure, and I bet the next one will go even better. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions. You can email or DM. I think that'll wrap up this episode of WDW Prep to Go. For more information, please check the show notes in your podcast app or head to the website, wdwprepschool.com. Click on podcast at the top, scroll down to episode 492. Until next time, I will see you on the site.